that.
Well, now can she have the credit? I keep saying this everywhere I go, but give her the credit for the good album that George made and the stuff that Paul made and the stuff that Ringo made and the stuff that I've made since she supposedly broke us up. If she did break us up, give her the credit for all them great albums that came out. You know? There's been far more Beatle product than ever before, and if you're really that keen on the Beatles, all you have to do is take a tape of each album or make your own Beatle album out of it. You know, if you really need it that bad to hear one of us singing next after the other, you know.
And I think that the John's album, the first one, John Lennon Plastic Ono Band with the Working Class Hero and all that, it was like a peak, and I just thought, well, it's going to be hard for John to write something better than that. And Imagine, I really think that is better than, the last album. I don't know why that happened. It just happened.
John had started to take up with Yoko, and you could tell that this was going to develop into a very intense relationship one way or the other. It wasn't going to just be two ordinary kids in love, but she was a very different kind of person from anyone we'd ever met. Normally it was just a girl or a woman. The fact that she was Japanese was very different anyway, because their culture's so different. And at the time it was fairly crazy, and we were getting a bit annoyed. I mean, we all got annoyed when one day she showed up in the studio in her bed, and while we were making a record she was sort of lying in the bed. And you thought, well, there's nothing wrong with that. It's allowed. She was pregnant and she had to lie down, so we understood. But at the same time, you're going, we're trying to make a record, so it was very difficult. Because you had two sets of feelings. One was just, we are the Beatles and we ought to be left alone to make our record. And then the other feeling was, but John, who is one of the Beatles, wishes to do this. So we can't tell him no. So it was kind of quite difficult to know what to do.
The wives and the girlfriends never came to the studio. That was where we were together. And I think that's why we worked so well, because there was just the four of us and there was no outside influence, unless we brought it in, someone to come down and play on it or make it flash past for an hour or so because he had nothing to do or whatever, those things. But basically it was just the four of us recording, and it was intense, and dramatic, and we were trying to get the record done the best we could. We'd do one track for a week, it takes a week to do one track, just the backing track sometimes. So we all got a bit weird, and I was wondering what was happening one day. So I was saying to John, what is going on here? You're always together all the time. It's freaking me out a bit. What's happening? And he told me what they were trying to do. It's nothing to do with you, the listening public. So then I was fine after that. Oh, well, okay. I mean, that's how he wants to do it. That's fine with me. And then I sort of relaxed a lot around Yoko. I think she's hysterical. I played on an album with her. I think that's one of them.
Yoko's the whole thing was that scream. Listen to Don't Worry Kyoko. It's one of the fucking best rock and roll records ever made. Listen to it and play Tutti Frutti. Listen to Don't Worry Kyoko, the other side of Cold Turkey. If somebody with a rock-oriented mind can possibly listen to her stuff, you'll see what she's doing. It's fantastic, It's as important as anything we ever did, and as important as anything Stones or Townsend ever did. Listen to it and you'll hear what she's putting down. On Cold Turkey, I'm getting towards it. Yeah. I'm influenced by her music 1,000% more than I ever was by Dylan. And she makes music like you've never heard on earth, And when the musicians play with it, they're inspired out of their skulls. We've got a cut of her from the Lyceum in London with 15 or 20 musicians playing with her, from Bonnie and Delaney and the fucking lot. We played the tracks the other night. It's the most fantastic music I've ever heard.
We didn't know her too well, really, until quite recently.
A few years ago.
80s, beginning of the 80s, when I just thought, well, maybe I've misunderstood. Maybe it's my mistake, not hers. So I telephoned her. She said, why are you telephoning? I said, well, I think I've misunderstood you, and I think I've made a big mistake. And as you were John's wife, and I was very fond of John, I feel that he would have liked me to telephone you and kind of say hello. And she said, well, don't do me any favors, don't do it out of pity or don't sympathy. I don't want that, I don't want charity. Which at first I thought, but I had to say, no, she's right. I thought she was a hard woman. I don't think she is now. I think she's just the opposite. I think she's a very loving, caring woman. I thought she was pushy, which I think's wrong. I don't think she is. I think she's just determined more than some other people to be herself. Some people will just give in. And at the time, I thought, well, I should really answer all of this. I thought, no, it's really going to get crazy if I start answering him. Then we're going to be talking through newspapers at each other and really bitching,
But now it's up presumably to what? To only Yoko Ono can tell you, oh, no, John really liked you. That must feel very
I know that anyway. No, I know that anyway. It doesn't mean I didn't get hurt when he said hurtful things about me. But I knew from my relationship with him that the kind of person John was he was quite likely to say that about anyone, but not necessarily likely to mean it. He often said things he didn't mean. And I know that when he died, that was one of the great things Yoko did for me, was that she took me aside, kind of said, he did love you. She was gracious enough to do that for me, So that was great.
So this hurt. This is...
Sure did, baby. Yeah, I mean, it hurt you, if I start slagging your clothes off right now, nobody needs that. And when it's from your best friend, it hurts, But as I say, I know I'm not Muzak.